Hello there, my beautiful pumpkins, and welcome back to the Pumpkin Patch. If you're new here, hello, my name is Kloee Taylor, and on this channel, I believe we have one of the most cozy, vibey, autumnal corners of the internet. So if you like the way that I read, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, today, my pumpkins, I am so honored to say that today's video is sponsored by Tarot Stack. So thank you so much, Tarot Stack, for sponsoring today's video. And today, we are just catching a vibe, okay? I know that we are still in summer if you live in the same hemisphere as me, but the autumn decorations got pulled off the top shelf today. So we are bringing back the black backdrop. We are bringing out the autumn candles and the cozy fireplace. Okay, we are catching a vibe today. But this reading, I really wanted to, I don't even know what I'm going to call it, but I ultimately just want Spirit to speak to you. So this is really just a message from your spiritual team, from your guides, especially those of you that have been having a hard time hearing them, or you feel like you've been asking for a sign. This is the reading where you're going to gain confirmation that they've been listening to you. And we're just going to feel it out and see what each reading entails. So if you're new to pick a cards, you can feel free to choose based off of, just how you felt. You can look at the timestamps down below. Maybe your lucky number might be in there. This is going to be pile 1. This is pile 2. This is pile 3. And it might just be like, maybe you see a lot of 1111 or 333 or 222. That might be a significator for your pile. The ultimate thing is that it doesn't matter how you choose or which you choose. It is more about that you just trust yourself and your intuition with this. If you would like to use a crystal for this to just kind of amplify your choosing, allow me to go ahead and place some down for you. Pile number 1, we have this beautiful piece of cut smoky quartz. Pile number 2, we have some specular hematite. And pile number 3, we have some aura quartz for you. So those crystals may be of help if you were having a hard time deciding. I'm going to go ahead and turn up some nice autumnal music for you so that you can sit with these piles and make a decision, and the timestamps will be down below. All right, pile number 1, if you chose the smoky quartz, this is going to be your reading. So before we get into it, I do just want to talk a little bit about Tarot Stack. So Tarot Stack is an online store that distributes indie tarot decks from basically independent artists. And these decks, when I tell you, and every deck that you see today in my reading is from there, they will all be linked down below, of course. But when I tell you that these decks are so good, like the cardstock is incredible. You'll notice in my cards that I use a lot of these on a daily basis, and none of them are falling apart because they are really high quality, well made. And I also feel like Tarot Stack is just honestly such an ethical company. Like, they really work to get tarot decks from independent creators versus something that is like mass marketed and sold. So it helps independent artists get their name out there a little bit more. And they have such a diverse collection of decks on their site. There's a lot of them are focused on inclusivity and having like gender neutrality in their tarot decks, which I personally really appreciate. They also have recently, I feel like, really upped their like feminine indie decks, ones that have more like feminine style to them. Like a lot of the, you've seen them even in other readings that I've done, but like ones that just have more of a feminine influence to them. And I really enjoy that as well. So there's a myriad of decks though. There's lots of diversity on their site. I own so many decks from Tarot Stack and I have not once ever been disappointed, whether it's the art style from the artist or the way that it was packaged and shipped to me, how quickly it came, like genuinely zero complaints. And it always just makes me feel good knowing that I'm supporting an independent artist and helping to get their work out there. So links down below for Tarot Stack. And of course, I will also link every single deck that I use in the order they appear down below. So if you want to get some for yourself, be sure to use my links. And thank you so much to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and get into your reading. So I wanted this to be kind of like you'll see what I mean. There's a deck that we're using called the, I want to say it's like the Crafter's Spread. Let me get the exact name. Spread Crafter's Oracle, which of course it will be linked down below as well as the main store page to Tarot Stack. But the Spread Crafter's Oracle, it's basically like, you'll see, you get these cards, which we're going to start with, that will kind of help us unpack this reading and what your guides have been trying to communicate to you. Also, I love the color palette that we have for your reading. Are you kidding? Look at how pretty this is. Lots of blues and purple tones. So number one, we have the card of support. To help, to aid, to assist, to encourage, to hold space. Then we have the card of luck, which says what opportunities and joyful surprises are in store for you. What can you do to align yourself to the energies of luck? And then we have conquer, to slay, to battle, to defeat, to overcome. So basically, these are just kind of like placeholders that we're going to see what each of these areas your guides have been trying to really get your attention with. So we're going to start with support here. And so this is to help, to aid, to assist, to encourage, and to hold space. So where in your life do you have support right now? Where do you need to be leaning on support, especially if you've been asking for it? We have the Knight of Cups coming out. So if any of you are in a partnership, you might be telling yourself like, oh, I can't put this on them. It's too much. It's too heavy. You actually need to lean on your partner a little bit more. That's ultimately the message that I'm receiving, is that they are here to support you and they want to know how you're feeling, and icing them out or keeping things from them and thinking that you should just keep a brave face and handle it. It doesn't lead to positive communication for the two of you. And it actually creates more of a wedge. So when it comes to support, lean on this person for support. Now, if you're not somebody that's in a romantic partnership, the Knight of Cups can also be somebody that just really has a positive outlook on life and kind of sees life through rose-colored glasses. They can always find the optimistic nature of something. They can always find a silver lining. They always expect good things to happen for them. And this is somebody, like, if you're constantly going for support in your personal life right now, if you're going for it and you keep talking to people that, number one, haven't accomplished what you're trying to accomplish in your life, or aren't going in the direction that you see yourself going, or maybe they always put you down, this person is never going to give you the support that you crave. And that is something that you need to accept and move on. This is coming directly from your guides. You need to accept that if you keep going to somebody that isn't this level of optimism and they keep dragging you down, maybe you think that you can change their opinion, or maybe in the past they had some kind of value to you, but now they are just too down and in it. It doesn't mean that we can't lift people up and support them, but you have to know where the line is. You can't just let somebody bleed your well dry, okay? And in order for you to have a more optimistic look about life and change your perception, which I think is really what this is about, you have to start connecting with people that have that optimism, that everything always works out for me. And if you don't feel like you have that person, the number one thing I'm always going to tell you is you need to seek mentorship. And that doesn't mean you have to pay a mentor. That doesn't mean that you have to none of that. I mean, if you would like to, I do have my course, Authentically Aligned, that will literally support you through whatever you're going through right now. Actually, I have a couple of courses on my website if you want to check those out. Shameless self-plug. I'll link them down below for you, of course. But it doesn't mean that you have to do that. You don't have to buy Kloee Taylor's course, okay? If you have the means and you think it sounds like a good idea, do that. If you want to go pay somebody else, however much money to be a mentor or a life coach for you, you're allowed to do that. However, if that's not a position that you're in right now, you need to be looking for the books, the podcasts, the YouTube videos. We are in such a blessed digital age at this point in history that whatever you want to resonate with in your life, I guarantee you there's a creator that does it. There's somebody that already is teaching, talking about, or doing the thing or having the attitude about life that you would like to have. So go and start listening to their content. If you don't feel like you have a physical person, start listening. Genuinely, that's how I attribute so much of my success to that. When I honestly, in my early 20s, I left home and kind of stopped talking to my family, who, not all of them, but there are a lot of them that have very toxic behaviors. Being raised by an abuser and a narcissist and having 7 children, lots of the kids are obviously going to end up with a lot of really negative coping tools and have a negative view on life. And when I kind of cut my family off for several years in my early 20s and just focused on my own self-growth journey, and started listening to more positive outlooks, more psychological things, especially I was really interested in. It was the support that I needed at the time, even though I didn't have physical people to help me. And Spirit is saying, if you don't feel like you have this Knight of Cups person, you're not going to attract that person by sitting down in the dumps. You have to start working on raising your own vibration first. And there are many, many, many free ways of doing that. So that's all I'm going to say on that. With luck, what opportunities and joyful surprises are in store for you? What can you do to align yourself in the energies of luck? We have the 3 of Cups. So the 3 of Cups, I feel like this is such a friendship reading right now. I know we got possibly a romantic partner here, but I do see also this is people pouring into each other. Okay, so 3 of Cups is the sacred sisterhood card. It could be sacred masculine. It could however you identify, but I always look at it from a metaphorical position of it being it's usually 3 women that are in sacred sisterhood cheersing each other. This tableau obviously looks a little bit different in this deck, but it still gives you these 3 cups that are all pouring into each other because there's a sacred bond. There is sacred connection. And there is going to be an opportunity for you to make connection, to make friends with people that have the kind of ideas and values that you have. And you are in a position where you're actually going to create that. But you need to heed the original advice first of supporting yourself, raising your own vibration, and also asking for support if you have a Knight of Cups in your life. But the lucky part is once you start to do that, you're going to attract the people that really will support you in the way that you would really like to be supported. And I also feel like opportunities are going to come through people for you, specifically through friendships. And that's something else that I feel like I've noticed. I don't know what it is that you do for a living, pile number 1, but I've always noticed in no matter what niche I have been in, whether it was gaming, however many years ago, or what I do right now, people at the top really are out here collaborating. They are collaborating. They want your name in every room. They are celebrating each other's success. And people that I don't want to say are at the bottom, because I really hate that idea that people are above or below us, but just think of it like people at the top of their game. They're not here to push other people down. They're here to collaborate and get you in the right rooms as well. They're not trying to sit here and say, play the comparison game or, Comparison is such the thief of joy. They're not here to play the comparison game or compete. That's the word I was looking for. They're not looking to compete with you for something. And if you find that you've always been in circles of people where it's felt really unsafe because there's always this competitive nature, or maybe people stealing things from you or what have you, to me, it seems that you need to shift your perspective. Especially when it comes to, because I feel like in the past you've maybe been really unlucky with friendships, and that scares you. You think it's something wrong with you. And ultimately, this has circled around you so many times. And now you're actually being blessed with the opportunity to attract what you're asking for. But the patterns that this is another, I'm sorry, channeling sometimes gets weird. It comes out all jumbled, and the more that like the human self interferes with it, the harder it is to get the message. So just bear with me a second. But basically what I'm hearing from your guides is that, especially if you felt like you've been really unlucky in the friendship department, maybe you've had a lot of reoccurring patterns that have cropped up and you blame yourself for that. But ultimately, the pattern has only reoccurred because there is something you are not aware of. And it keeps coming up to make you aware, not to shut yourself off from connection, not to constantly be alone, not to think that you're not worthy of friendship or meeting good, quality, solid people that will support you. Living your life alone was never the goal, was never what you were supposed to set your sights on. And when it comes to friendship, you're actually extremely lucky, and you're meant to attract the right people because they will also attract to you the right opportunities. I'm also hearing from your guides that you need to stop playing small because it's not cute and it's not getting you anywhere. And obviously it's easier said than done if we have like a small demeanor or feel like we are meant to be unworthy or smaller. It takes time to really unfurl that. But Spirit is saying like you have had so many opportunities slapped in front of you and you have just like not taken them because you're afraid. And the thing with fear is you're never going to come to a place where you're not scared. The only way to overcome fear is, number one, to accept that it's a natural cause that you will literally have throughout your life. Fear will never go away. You will always find something to be afraid of. But it's doing the dance with fear. It's deciding to look at fear and say, you know what? You're here. That's okay. We're going to keep doing this thing anyway, even though we're doing it scared. And I'm also hearing from your guides, you're getting a lot, pile number one. I'm also hearing from your guides that you need to stop judging yourself for being cyclical. You might be somebody that like genuinely has like a lot of hormone fluctuations. Obviously I don't want to gender anybody. So I would just say like anybody that has a menstrual cycle, let's say, you might be somebody that is meant to live a little more cyclically. And you need to stop judging yourself for the fluctuations in your hormones because, and I'm not a doctor or a scientist or anything like that, so please do not take this for medical advice. But it's like, gosh, there's like so much to unpack, especially with cycle syncing too. But like, let me know down below if y'all want like a cute little workbook or something on cycle syncing, because that's something I've been considering creating for y'all. So let me know down below if that's something y'all would want to see, because I don't want to spend my time making it if like nobody cares about it. But without going too far into that, when it comes to cycle syncing, obviously every person's going to need something different, but we have lived by a very masculine clock for many, 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 many years. And we all think it's normal to go to work every day, live for the weekend, and have no time and have to have a certain kind of energy every single day. When in reality, if you're somebody that has a cycle or has ever had a cycle, a menstrual cycle, no, your clock doesn't work like that. Your clock is not meant to be the 24-hour. You have a 28-day clock. And so there are points in that cycle where you can have those 24-hour days. Usually it's during the ovulatory phase where you can kind of operate more like a somebody who does not menstruate. But if it's not that time period, No, like it's okay if you need deep rest for a week. It's okay if you feel like everything's terrible 4 days before your cycle. Those are often very normal consequences of having hormonal fluctuation. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't even want to continue to dwell on this, but the thing I'm trying to remind you here, especially because Sacred Sisterhood like came up, again, I'm not trying to gender anybody, so please like use the words that apply for you, or the terminology that you would prefer here. But when it comes to luck, I also feel like that has been really out of balance for you, and it's actually keeping you small as well. Like you think this is something that's inherently wrong with you, and it's not. Like you just need to learn to work with that a little more intentionally, and your life will flow a lot easier. But friendships are honestly coming to bless your life, like new friends. You are going to be making new friends. And then conquer, to slay, to battle, to defeat, to overcome. We have King of Cups. So to conquer with the King of Cups, this is like having a loving approach to someone or something, but like to conquer with emotional intelligence, to conquer with, but I also feel like this is meant to be overcome. Do you think that you have to be nice all the time? I only say that because I feel like you need to ask yourself how far that niceness has actually gotten you. Because if you're meant to conquer this sector of your life, it's like you always try to approach everything in life from a really emotionally intelligent place, maybe even being very like even keel or calm. And I think you actually need to get a little pissed and a little mad. I think anger would actually serve you well. And before you're like, Kloee, what the hell? How are you going to be here telling me to be angry? That sucks. No. Anger is actually so productive. Obviously, we don't need to direct rage at someone. That's very different. Rage and anger are two very different things. When we think about anger, it doesn't mean it has to be unbridled anger. Anger is valuable because it shows us where we feel like we have been slighted, where we feel like we have been misled, mistreated, where our boundaries were not respected. And if you have a really uncomfortable relationship to anger, I feel like you have always tried to conquer things from a very like soft, calm place, which is valuable, of course. But I feel like this part of you is actually going through a transformation right now. And your guides want you to know that like it's okay to get mad. It's okay to be angry. So let's see what else we have. We also have creative value. Most often not financial. Excuse me. Creative value. Most often not financial. Who are you now that it's done? What has been revealed? And then we also have creative originality. Why would you just want to offer more of the same? Standing out does not always mean being number one. Often it doesn't. Interesting. Okay, so creative value. I like that card. I like that card because I feel like it also parrots back to like you having inherent value just because you are. And that's something I think you need to be reminded of, that like, especially if you've been stressing finances a lot lately, your guides are telling you like, obviously easier said than done, but if your basic needs are being met, you need to stop stressing the value. And maybe even read the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert if you haven't. She talks a lot about how it is an honor to be able to have financial compensation from your creative pursuits. And you are in service of the muse. To be given money is just an added bonus. And don't get me wrong, I think it's a beautiful thing to set your sights on making money from your creativity. But if that's your only goal, you're in it for the wrong reasons. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. I know this intimately in my life from every single spectrum I've ever approached my career for over a decade. Anytime I get too into the financial value of it, it slips between my fingers every time. And I have to reconnect with what I'm actually doing. So keep that in mind. I'm not sure why that's coming up with this reading, but you would know better than I would. It's your guides. And then creative originality. Why would you just want to offer more of the same? Standing out does not always mean being number one. Often it doesn't. So I feel like this is asking you, if you're constantly looking to others about how you're going to make something or do something or have like just the way you're trying to go about setting up your life right now, it's okay for you to stand out. It's okay for you to be different. It's okay for you to have originality. Why would you want to make more of what everybody else has already made, regardless of what you're trying to do? Even if you're trying to I feel like we do this a lot in life, regardless of if we're actually in a creative career field. This often can result in how we even manage ourselves, how we do our makeup, how we make our bed, how we have our day-to-day routines. What we decide to do will mimic what other people have shown to us. Why not ask yourself what actually feels good and do that? And then we also have ancient emissaries for you. And this one I'm going to read out of the book that came with it, because these cards are just really dense. Their explanations are very, very dense. And I just find that the book always has such wonderful things to say. So ancient emissaries, I want to say that's a whale on the cover there, but let's take a look. Okay, sharing the divine frequencies of love and light, eternal beloved. Every creature of our planet holds a divine frequency and vibration, including you, dear one. Just as the whale song has the magic to expand into its surrounding waters, so too can your energy influence the collective. So can the power of your voice and your heart. So can the magnetism of your kindness and willingness for change. Imagine what we could accomplish in greater numbers if only we would recognize our shared inheritance with all life here. Do not be afraid to connect with the greater song of your life. Do not forget just how sacred you are and how each of us contributes to an infinite source. As living beings, we too affect the structure of the universe. We can always share a higher frequency with all, just as the whales and crustaceans do. And it also says, how can I tune into my highest frequency? So I'm going to let that be a message to you. And finally, we have card number 13. It says, heal yourself through eternal love and unconditional self-acceptance. Forgiveness will set you free. So this isn't even about forgiveness from someone else. This is about forgiveness for yourself. Forgiving yourself for who you thought you should be. Forgiving yourself for where you are in life right now. I promise you're not behind. I think we're all just kind of the blind leading the blind. And so many of us think that we are behind or not far enough, not doing enough, not a specific kind of person. And I promise you, when you start to savor the everyday moments and focus on your day-to-day life instead of instead of always having the zoomed out perspective, when you zoom in and actually care for yourself, that's really where the real magic is. And that is the reading that your guides wanted you to have, pile number 1. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much again to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. Please don't forget to check them out at my link down below. If you want to get any of these indie decks, there are so many more than just these. And honestly, truly wonderful, high quality. Great, 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 great. Thank you so much, Tarot Stack. And if you didn't know, I also have my courses available to you. I have a workbook and audio guide called The Authentic Self. If you feel like you need a little extra guidance in your life right now, I also have my new course, Authentically Aligned, available for you, where I actually take you on a 4-week-long journey to basically recovering yourself, reconnecting with your purpose. We kind of take stock of your life. We go through some healing modalities, and then we basically get you jump started to reconnect with your life, your purpose, yourself. And I also give you a personal guide. I help you to create a personal guide to follow so that you don't fall off track either. And you have ways of checking in with yourself. So it's a 4-week program where you get to work with me. It's all self-paced and video led, it's all pre-recorded stuff. But I hope you'll check that out. I also have my Patreon where I just put up, y'all. I just put up a 45-minute vlog. for y'all if you wanted to watch it. It's available on Patreon. That's where my vlogs are going to live from now on, is over there. We also meet together as a community once per month. I also give you weekly astrology and tarot readings over there. And a card of the month and so much more. So definitely check out the Patreon. It really helps me out as a small creator. I know to some of you, I may not seem like a small creator, but I promise you in the scheme of it all, I am. So it really helps me out as a small creator to have Patreon as a safe environment to continue to produce what I produce and then some. So if you want to support me, that's a great place to do it. If not, I also accept tips for my readings. I have Cashapp, Venmo, and PayPal listed down below for you. It's never an expectation, but always appreciated. And my beautiful pumpkin, please do not forget, when you stand in your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. All right, pile number 2, this is going to be your reading. And before we jump in, I just want to give an extra special thank you to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. So Tarot Stack is an online store that distributes indie tarot decks from basically independent artists. And these decks, when I tell you, and every deck that you see today in my reading is from there, they will all be linked down below, of course. But when I tell you that these decks are so good, like the cardstock is incredible. You'll notice in my cards that I use a lot of these on a daily basis, and none of them are falling apart because they are really high quality, well made. And I also feel like Tarot Stack is just honestly such an ethical company. Like, they really work to get tarot decks from independent creators versus something that is like mass marketed and sold. So it helps independent artists get their name out there a little bit more. And they have such a diverse collection of decks on their site. There's a lot of them are focused on inclusivity and having like gender neutrality in their tarot decks, which I personally really appreciate. They also have recently, I feel like, really upped their like feminine indie decks, ones that have more like feminine style to them. Like a lot of the, you've seen them even in other readings that I've done, but like ones that just have more of a feminine influence to them. And I really enjoy that as well. So there's a myriad of decks though. There's lots of diversity on their site. I own so many decks from Tarot Stack, and I have not once ever been disappointed, whether it's the art style from the artist or the way that it was packaged and shipped to me, how quickly it came, like genuinely zero complaints. And it always just makes me feel good knowing that I'm supporting an independent artist and helping to get their work out there. So links down below for Tarot Stack. And of course, I will also link every single deck that I use in the order they appear down below. So if you want to get some for yourself, be sure to use my links. And thank you so much to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. If you chose this piece of specular hematite, I love this crystal. It was actually one that I got local in Bainbridge Island, right on like the main strip. If any of you are Washingtonians, you might know of Bainbridge Island, but there's a crystal shop kind of on like the main drag over there. And I got this piece there, and it's like really heavy because it's hematite, but it's like glittery. So really cool. It's a great protective stone. But let's go ahead and see what your spirit guides. Oh my gosh, I feel like I can't talk today. Let's see what your spirit guides want to talk to you about. So we're going to start by putting out a few cards from the Spread Crafters Oracle. And that's going to kind of build your reading out as to like figuring out what spirit wanted to communicate with you. So first we have wellness, health, and self-care. That's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see what comes out of that. Seeker, which says, use this card to represent you, who you are, what you may be thinking, feeling, and how you are positioned in a situation or relationship right now. So that's going to be interesting. Then we also have wound, which says, how have you been hurt in the past? What is the wound that you still carry? Which part of you still suffers? What needs to be healed? So these are the things that your guides have been trying to talk to you about. And we're going to get into like the specifics on these. And let's just hop right in. Let's just hop straight away into that. So number one, we're going to look at wellness, health, and self-care. And we have for you the King of Wands. So with wellness, health, and self-care, number one, this might just be a call to action to make sure that you're like getting your checkups, things like that. This I promise you, I would never be the person that's like, oh, there's something really wrong or you have an illness or something. No, 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 no. No tarot card reader, an ethical one, would read on something like that. So this is not meant to scare you. This doesn't mean that you've got something crazy or something really bad's going on. But, just make sure you're getting your wellness and health checkups. This is just like a reminder to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your health. But with the King of Wands, the King of Wands is somebody that has like a passion and lust for life. And so if you feel like this has not really been your forte lately, this hasn't been the case, Spirit is saying that that's what the missing link. The reason you're not feeling as passionate or excited about life is because you need to focus a little bit more on your wellness, health, and self-care, not so much on like career or family or friendships. You're meant to set your focus actually more on yourself right now. And trust me when I tell you, I know how scary it is when you have to lay appropriate boundaries with people, basically to take a step back, take time for yourself. Me and you, we are really resonating right now because this is an area of my life that I am very much in right now. I have put up so many boundaries with so many people right now, and I have just been spoiling myself by giving all of my energy to myself. And it does feel scary. There's a part of you that will be afraid that those people won't be there when you decide to like come out of hibernation. But trust me, if they're really your friends, they'll be able to wait. They'll be able to give that time to you. And I think the most important part that you need to see is that you need to be giving your energy, your time to yourself. You might be the person that's always the fixer or the handler or someone that is always making everything correct or right or run smoothly. And this has left you feeling depleted, burnt out, tired. And it's time for you to regain your own inner strength by giving that energy to yourself where you would previously be giving it to everyone else. And the thing is, if you don't heed this kind of stuff, oftentimes Spirit will make it impossible for you. Like everybody will suddenly be no longer available to you because you're meant to give your time and attention to yourself. Okay. Then we have the Seeker, which says, remember, use this card to represent you, who you are, what you may be thinking, feeling, how you are positioned in the situation or relationship. So I feel like you just need some clarity. And we have for you the Five of Wands with the Seeker. So the Five of Wands is a card of a little bit of chaos. I'm not going to lie to you about it. It's competition. It's chaos. And I think this is actually, like, don't get me wrong. There can be healthy competition. Competition can be a beautiful and fun thing. But it seems like you've been putting your emphasis a lot on competing with others right now. And that's not really where your energy needs to be focused. Like, the only person you should ever be competing with is yourself. And, sorry, I feel like I just need to take a deep breath. Sometimes channeling is like that. Maybe you were holding your breath too. Maybe you need to take a deep breath. One more. Sigh it out. Does that feel so good? Okay, so Five of Wands, though, it really is like combative. It's chaotic. It's argumentative. It's chaos for the sake of chaos. We're not actually getting anything done. Like, it's not productive chaos. And this could be a situation. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's just like a situation with somebody else. And you need to recognize, oh, that's what it is. Spirit is like, yes. Okay. So your guides are saying that you keep trying to combat with somebody else. And the thing is, they are hell-bent on misunderstanding you. And it's time for you to move on. They are hell-bent on misunderstanding you. They are never going to see it your way. They have shown you that time and time again. And it's time for you to pour into yourself and to stop seeking the approval of this person so much. Okay? Then we also have the wound. How have you been hurt in the past? What is the wound that you still carry? Which part of you still suffers? What needs to be healed? We have the Ten of Wands. You really are used to doing it all. I said that before even seeing this card, and you are used to taking on everything. You are used to being the number one in command. You are used to always being the person that everybody churns to. And it's because you feel like you have to play that role. And I would encourage you to really dissect that. And I'll give you like a personal example. Maybe that's oversharing. I don't know. I always feel like personal examples help people to understand the concepts better sometimes. And that's honestly the main reason that I share, is if I ever feel prompted to share. I know I don't need to explain it, but Spirit is asking me to share, so I will. This is something that I'm familiar with, because I used to tell people, like, I've been with my partner, my husband, for this year was 15 years together. We're having 10 years married in September. And I used to tell people for probably like the last 10 years that I did all the cleaning because he couldn't do it right. I had to do it or it wouldn't be done right. This is my responsibility. And he never told me, like, you better clean. Never. Oh my goodness. My husband knows better than to ever tell Kloee Taylor what to do. Like, I am such a force to be reckoned with in that department that I do not like to be told what to do ever. Especially as a Sagittarius rising. I feel like Sagittarius, they can't handle being told what to do ever. They always are gonna, or they'll like tell you one thing and do something else because they want to have their own energy and be free. But it's not like that was ever put on me. That was never like a decision. It was just something that I did. Immediately from the time that we moved in, I decided somewhere in there in my, I was, 20, 21, somewhere in there. I decided that for some reason I was better at cleaning, and so therefore I should always be the one that's in charge of it. And I would do it all, but I would also have like a full-time business, full-time job that sometimes needed more of my time than like even a 9 to 5. And for years and years and years, I was like this, and then I would get resentful because I was doing everything. And then people would ask me lovingly, kindly, like, well, why don't you let him do some things? And I would say, oh, no. Like, I prefer to do the cleaning. I'm the only one that can do it right, blah, blah, blah. This is really typical, especially in behavior where you mother your spouse. And I hate to say it because it's, to me, I'm not ashamed because I didn't know what I didn't know. And this was something that I just did. And now I have had to work really diligently to correct it because I don't want to mother my spouse. I don't want to be that kind of person. I would rather be more invested in myself, and we split the tasks. And everybody kind of gets the tasks that they would like, and then the ones that nobody likes, we divvy them up. But my point of bringing this up is that it wasn't even just like cleaning. It was like I always had dinner on the table at a certain time. I would just tell myself that this is what it meant to be a wife. Okay. And I'm sure that there's like some Mormon dogma in there because I used to be Mormon for like the first 18 years of my life. I'm a 32-year-old woman. I haven't been Mormon for a long time, but, I feel like a lot of you might be able to relate to that. Not necessarily mothering your spouse, but being somebody that you feel like you have to do it all because nobody else can do it. And I hate to be the person that is about to burst your mother effing bubble, but when you get rid of the idea that you are smarter than everybody else, you will actually find that you're able to get help a lot easier. You will find that people will show up to actually help you complete tasks a lot easier. You don't have to do it all. You do not have to be the person always wielding over everything. And in fact, most of the time, you'll find that if you're somebody that always feels like you have to do it all, you get frustrated that you're the one that has to do it all, but yet you won't let anybody else do it, you're going to come to find that that is a trauma response. You're so afraid to relinquish control of something. That is your wound, okay? If any of this is resonating, that is your wound. You're afraid that somewhere in your life, maybe you had a chaotic experience. And from that moment, unconsciously, possibly, most likely it was unconscious, you decided that you would take the reins on everything because that way nobody could disappoint you and nobody could hurt you and everything would be done just right because you've got it. You can handle it. You've got it. You're always going to do it the best. So don't divvy anything off. And that is a wound. That is something. And it's not that you are terrible or bad or imperfect or you need to pick yourself apart. But when you don't allow others to help you, number one, honestly, it's a little egotistical. I had to remind myself of this. When I bursted my own bubble, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. I'm not an idiot. But it just was such a blow to my ego when I was like, oh, I'm actually not the best person for this job. There are people that could do this better than me. And it improved the quality of my life tenfold, allowing people to actually help. And, at first it was really hard when there was dishes left in the sink that would trigger me. And I'd be like, oh, I just like want to get mad that that's there. I want to get up and clean it. And now I find that sometimes I go to bed and there's dishes in the sink, and that's okay. Oftentimes, my husband also does the dishes way more than I do because we split the tasks now, and I don't have to do it all. And sure, there might be a quality to the work that is different when I do it versus when he does it, but I don't feel the need to mother or control anymore. And you know what? I'm way more focused on myself and where I want to put my time, and that feels good. So that's what I'm really trying to get to. And there's so much more on that. You should definitely listen to my podcast if you haven't done so, because I've talked about some of this stuff in my podcast recently. But podcast called Divine Authenticity, links down below. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. But that is really the wound. You feel like you have to always take on everything, because that's what the 10 of Wands represents, is taking on everything. And the thing is, you are not always the best person for the job, and you need to let your ego sit with that. I'm not trying to offend you or hurt you, but when you recognize that, let's say, for example, you're in photography, okay? And you always do the shooting, the editing, every little piece of it. I promise you, you are not the best. There is somebody out there that probably has years of experience on you that can edit better. The same way, like, maybe you always do all the cooking. There is a chef out there that can do it better. Like, I'm not trying to say that for your home or for your business, you aren't the best, but ultimately it's the belief that you are always the best that sometimes can get you in a lot of trouble. And honestly, it's tiring. It's tiring to be this person. This hurts. This hurts because there's no time left for you when you do this. So wellness, health, and self-care, this is what is missing, because you're always taking on too much. You're always being the saver, the rescuer. You're doing it all because you think nobody else can. And I promise you, other people can. Okay, we're going to keep going. So we have creative feeling. Enjoy the moments of euphoria, but they aren't sustainable. The slow burn, that's where the gold is. So I feel like when you go to change, because I do think you're on the precipice of a major change, like healing something, this like specific thing. Spirit is saying, do not try to change yourself and everything overnight. You really want to go for the slow burn. Low and slow is the way to go, because it makes things kind of set in easier into your life when you make changes. Then we have creative catharsis, not always the point, but often an outcome. Hey Siri. Hold on, y'all. Hey Siri. Hey Siri.
Good evening.
Define catharsis.
Catharsis means the process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong or repressed emotions.
Okay. I feel like I don't even need to push on that more. I think we had a really long discussion about this already, about releasing that intent, like, again, feeling like you are the best. I'm not trying to say that you're not good at things, that you're not special, that you're not talented. That's not the point. The point is that if you're always feeling flooded and overwhelmed because you're doing it all, you need to recognize that you are not always the best person for the job. You are one person, and you have to start delegating things in your life, because this literally is such a slow burn into burnout, a slow burn of a bad kind, into burnout, into being dissatisfied with your life. And I don't want you waking up in 30 years being like, what the hell did I do for the last 30 years? I want you to wake up feeling good and fulfilled and excited about your life. Okay, so we also have for you the card Lemurian Waters. And I'm actually going to read this one from the book. So just give me 1 second to pull that up. There it is. Okay, Lemurian waters, soul gifts, embodied alchemy, and abundance. What seeds of Lemuria wisdom now bloom within me? If you feel a strong familiarity with the lands of Lemuria, there is a knowledge now rising to the surface that wants your attention. This is no mere coincidence. You are entering a fertile period of your life where immense activations are channeled through you. You are transmuting the lessons you have experienced into crystalline waters of truth as you walk the earth with a deep sense of knowing and trust. Everything unfolds to initiate you into a higher state of awakening. Every thought, step, and movement as you reconnect with the fragments of time that are mapped along your soul journey. You reactivate a remembrance that calls you home here and now, forever and always. So I'm just going to let that be a message to you. Maybe that's just something that your spirit guides need you to know, is that you are going through like energetic activation right now. And oh, look, I was going to say you're being led. And then your last card is literally like a person leading a child. That's so cute. So then you have card number 15. Are you trusting your inner child with kindness, patience, and love? When was the last time you felt childlike wonder and joy? And that really can go hand in hand. Like if you always felt like you've had to be the responsible one, that was probably a parent that made you always feel like you had to be responsible and never make mistakes. And it's a beautiful journey to connect with that childlike part of you and let them be a kid again. Let yourself have that. In any case, thank you so much to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. Y'all, please do not forget that on my website, KhloeTaylor.com, I have now released not one, but 2 courses. We have the Authentic Self Workbook and audio guide, and we also now have Authentically Aligned, which is a 4-week journey where I basically help you deconstruct and reconstruct your life in a way that reconnects you with your purpose, your passion, your joy. And I send you off with like a 30-day personalized guide to continue your journey. So like, it's not just like, oh, here's all this information on how to reconnect with yourself, your purpose, get clear. But also I don't just leave you hanging. I send you off at the end in the last week section with a personalized guide. I help you create it on how to carry all the things that you've learned into this next chapter of your life. So if you want to work with me like that, it is all pre-recorded stuff, but it is a wonderful experience. And I hope you'll consider joining me on either of those. So links down below for that. I also, just this past week, y'all, I put out a 45, count them up, 45, a 45-minute vlog on Patreon. That's where my vlogs live now. And if you want to see that, definitely come over there and check it out. I've been watching The Summer I Turned Pretty, and I talk all about that in there, but it's a good time. So check that out. I also, on my Patreon, give out weekly tarot and astrology readings. I also put out, or we come together like as a community on Patreon every single month where you and we sit and we chat about whatever. Lately, it's been astrology stuff. Y'all bring your charts and I answer your questions, but we've done like self-care nights. We've done game nights together. It's a really good place to meet like-minded individuals in like a community-based way. So definitely come and check that out on the Patreon. Link for that down below. It really helps me out as a small creator to have Patreon. So please do consider joining if you would like to support me. And if not, I also have my tips open. If you would like to tip me for my readings, I have my Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal, and my wish list listed down below for you. It is never an expectation, but always appreciated. And my podcast, Divine Authenticity, new episodes every Monday. If you would like to check that out, I would love if you did. We're almost 150 episodes deep. And I also put out videos on it periodically. There is a YouTube channel, but the audio version definitely gets more attention. Like there's been like a handful of videos made, lots of audio. It's available everywhere you listen to podcasts. And please do not forget, my pumpkin, that when you stand in your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. All right, pile number 3. If you chose the Aura Quartz, this is going to be your reading. But before we get into that, I just wanted to give a quick thank you to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. So Tarot Stack is an online store that distributes indie tarot decks from basically independent artists. And these decks, when I tell you, and every deck that you see today in my reading is from there, they will all be linked down below, of course. But when I tell you that these decks are so good, like the cardstock is incredible. You'll notice in my cards that I use a lot of these on a daily basis and none of them are falling apart because they are really high quality, well made. And I also feel like Tarot Stack is just honestly such an ethical company. Like they really work to get tarot decks from independent creators versus something that is like mass marketed and sold. So it helps independent artists get their name out there a little bit more. And they have such a diverse collection of decks on their site. There's a lot of them are focused on inclusivity and having like gender neutrality in their tarot decks, which I personally really appreciate. They also have recently, I feel like, really upped their like feminine indie decks, ones that have more like feminine style to them. Like a lot of the, you've seen them even in other readings that I've done, but like ones that just have more of a feminine influence to them. And I really enjoy that as well. So there's a myriad of decks though. There's lots of diversity on their site. I own so many decks from Tarot Stack and I have not once ever been disappointed, whether it's the art style from the artist or the way that it was packaged and shipped to me, how quickly it came, like genuinely zero complaints. And it always just makes me feel good knowing that I'm supporting an independent artist and helping to get their work out there. So links down below for Tarot Stack. And of course, I will also link every single deck that I use in the order they appear down below. So if you want to get some for yourself, be sure to use my links. And thank you so much to Tarot Stack for sponsoring today's video. So first and foremost, we're going to kind of build your reading out to see what your guides actually want to talk to you about. And you'll see what I mean here in a second. We're starting off by using the Spread Crafters Oracle, and they're cards that basically are going to kind of tell us what your guides have been trying to communicate with you or things that they've wanted to communicate with you that maybe they haven't. So we have shame, prayer, and generosity. So we're going to get descriptors on these too. So we'll see. But starting with shame, this card says, what do you dislike and reject within yourself? What makes you feel unworthy, unwanted, and unloved? What is causing you to judge yourself as bad and unredeemable? What burdens do you carry in your soul? And with that, we have the Seven of Swords. So the Seven of Swords as a shame card, you feel bad. You feel like you are betrayable. Like people will just betray you. You are struggling with a deep innate shame that you cannot trust people, or maybe like you think that you always pick the wrong people. It's like you don't trust that you're a good judge of character. And this has possibly happened because you've had people betray you in the past. Maybe you've had your heart broken really badly, or you've had friends just do despicable, unspeakable things, or maybe even caregivers as well in your earlier life. But there's a deep sense of shame here about you feeling like it's your fault. Like people betray you and you have a deep sense of shame, like somewhere in there you think you deserved it. And I'm here to tell you that no, you didn't. Your guides really want you to unpack this a lot deeper because shame is like a toxin. When you let shame really take root in you and in your body, you will hold yourself back from so many amazing opportunities. If you think that you're always going to be betrayed and that people are terrible, you could miss out on meeting the love of your life, on meeting the best friend that you've been dying to have. You could miss out on, like, when shame holds you back, you also don't let people receive the greatness of you. You at like doing your best, thriving, feeling good. People also miss the magic of receiving you when you let yourself be ruled by shame. So there is shame in terms of deception. You might also feel shame because you betrayed somebody in the past and now you know better and you feel guilty or bad. Maybe this person, like, you can't make amends with them and there's shame. There's something about betrayal and feeling ashamed, though. Either you were on the receiving end and you feel like you deserved it in some way, or you were the person dealing out the betrayal and now you see things differently. Now, prayer. This card says, and please know, I know that everybody has an interesting relationship with prayer. I always look at prayer, especially if you've dealt with like religious trauma of any kind. I myself have, so I understand. If that is for you, don't think of it like a Christianity prayer. Don't think of it like a Catholicism prayer. Think of it like the way that you just talk to the universe, the way that you talk to the earth or your spirit guides. It doesn't have to be something that is only used in religious ways. But this says prayer. What do you need to communicate to the universe? What are you inspired to put into words and express right now? What are your hopes, dreams, and wishes? And then we have the Wheel of Fortune. So you have really big dreams, and your guides are actually saying that you need to voice those dreams to them. They might already know just by things that you like think or feel, but they need you to put a voice behind them. The power of your words is actually insane. Like, words are so incredibly powerful. Like, the fact that, and Bahati Life teaches this, and I think it's so wonderful. Even like a parent speaking negative things over you could be considered a curse. That's how powerful words are. We don't even realize that we're dealing out curses when we speak sometimes. And so when we think about a prayer, an asking, a pleading, it doesn't even have to be desperate. But when we voice the things that we want to the universe, to our spiritual team, to our guides, to whatever it is that you think is a helper to you, honestly, you basically give permission for things to come together in the best and most beautiful way. You give your spiritual team permission to act on your behalf, and they can't always do things without that. So I can see that you have really big dreams in terms of having the Wheel of Fortune here. The Wheel of Fortune is, to me, very expansive. It's like having like the big pie in the sky dreams, but you carry this sense of shame so much that you think you're not even allowed to ask for what you want. Like, I've literally heard people like make fun of other people for like praying for money. Like, no, if you're in a bind, even if you're not in a bind and you just think that like having money would actually help you to fulfill your purpose on this life, in this life better, it's okay to ask for that. It's okay to ask for a promotion. It's okay to ask for children. It's okay to ask for friends. It's okay to ask for the love of your life. It's okay to ask for a direction, ask for purpose. My favorite prayer to the universe when I'm feeling like really, really low and I need some help, I will literally say it every morning. I will just kind of look to the sky because that's where I naturally go to, but maybe it's the ground for you. It's whatever you're feeling. And I will just say, show me how it gets better when I feel terrible. I kid you not. I always say give it a week. Within 3 days, things feel better. Show me how it gets better. But I feel like your guides are really saying that you're not exercising your ability to actually ask for help, to ask for your dreams to come into fruition, to be told what you need to do to make that happen, right? And then we have generosity. How can you practice generosity? Excuse me. How can you create win-win situations? How can you share and expand? How can you give and extend kindness to others? And we have the 9 of Wands. The 9 of Wands is like, it's not giving up. Right? The 9 of Wands, it comes right before the 10. It's not giving up. You're almost there. If you're in a creative pursuit, it's like you're almost there. You're not going to give up, and you're going to continue to give and continue to give generously because you know that it is in your nature. The 9 of Wands, sorry, I'm just listening. Take a deep breath. The Nine of Wands is often about like the final stages of something, not giving up, going the distance to completion. So when it comes to generosity, how you can share and expand, literally just don't give up. I feel like you are in a position right now where you feel like you want to give up on something. A long-term dream, a long-term plan. Your guides literally sent you to this reading because they want you to know that you are not supposed to give up yet. If not ever. You are like, you know how sometimes when things come together really magically, it like comes at the final hour. Like, I need to talk to you, pile number 3. And I'm going to try not to cry while I talk about this because I just feel like Spirit is inspiring me to share about this. And you maybe have heard it before if you've been on my channel before, but if you've never been here before, you probably never heard it. And Spirit really does work at like the final hour. And I know this because I don't even remember what year that was. It was probably like 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. My husband and I were being evicted from the house that we were living in because we couldn't afford it. My husband had lost multiple jobs. I was going through my own crisis at the time. There was just like a lot going on. And we hadn't necessarily done anything. It just not pay. It wasn't like anything catastrophic happened. We just didn't have the money. And we were being verbally evicted, which like we could have stayed longer. We could have fought that, but I didn't want an eviction on my record because those take like 7 years to come off and they can really mess up your chances of finding housing. So I remember during this process, literally, we had no money. I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. I was literally eating rice every day because that was all we had. And constantly trying to find a new apartment, constantly praying, crying myself to sleep every night. My husband would cry himself to sleep every night. We would just hold each other and cry at night. And he had started a new job, which was really good. But I'll never forget taking him to work. Our car was on empty. We did not have gas in the car, but I took him to work. And when he would work, I was technically running an online business at the time, but it was just like not going well. It was in gaming. It wasn't what I do now. And the car, I think it was like, we were already 20 miles over on empty. So like this car was literally about to give out on me. And I remember stopping the car on my way home from taking him to work. And I surrendered and I prayed, but like you could call it whatever you want. I still think prayer is actually something really beautiful, even though I'm non-religious now. I prayed to the universe and I was like, look, I can't do this for another day. I'm crying myself to sleep every night. I don't know what I'm doing. I am scared. Please help me. It gets me in my feelings sometimes, even when I talk about it, because it was just so, I know that feeling where you feel like your entire world is going to cave in and nobody can help you and nothing is going right. And I shit you not, I looked up after I said this prayer and I like cried. And there was a sign across the street that said for rent. And I called the number and it wasn't that property that I was looking at that was for rent. It was a different property from that same owner. And they told me to come over to the apartment. It was like 2 streets over. I drove over there praying to the almighty gods that my car wasn't going to run out of gas. And this man had a stack of people that had submitted applications already. So why he would choose to just give me a tour and talk to me right then, I will literally never know. This is like why I believe in something beyond myself. It was like I get the chills when I talk about it. It was such an intense experience. And he lets me view the apartment. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, cheaper than what my rent currently was. And without even asking for my name, my driver's license, a background check, he literally says, the apartment's yours. Just fill out the application. Here's the keys. Don't worry about the deposit. You can have, and I didn't tell him my situation. He didn't know. He said, here's the keys. Give me the deposit when you have it. Just bring me first month's rent. Or I think like it was something of that, or no, he said, give me the deposit today and worry about first month's rent later. So I like only had to pay my initial deposit, which was like $300. And I happened to phone a friend that had $300 that they could give me for the deposit, which that's like such a small deposit. And it just like literally within like 3 days, all my friends got together and helped us move. And my husband had gotten this new job that paid really well. So we were able to like get rent to like in a couple of weeks, we were able to get rent. And I will never know why this man gave me this apartment. And we lived there for like, I want to say almost a year. And you know, the rest is history. But like that experience, literally within like 45 minutes, I had a keys in my hand and I had a new apartment. It was my favorite apartment that I ever lived in my adult life. It wasn't like it was this like amazing, luxurious, grandiose thing. It was just a place of peace that came after such chaos. And like, that's what I mean when I say like, you need to ask. It's okay to ask. It's okay to say, you know what? The situation I'm in really sucks. I surrendered this situation and I need a better option. And trust that something will change. Something will shift. The situation will change. Miracles literally happen every single day. And your spiritual team just wants a little bit of communication. And don't give up. It's not time for you to give up and throw in the towel. If anything, it's time for you to be even more generous. And I know that that's hard, especially if you feel like you're in survival or like you're not going to, or you're harboring a lot of shame. It can feel scary to feel generous at that time. But you're not meant to give up. You're meant to stay in the vibration of generosity and continue on your path right now. That's like the number one thing. I hope that story resonated with somebody out there that maybe was struggling or just needed to hear about it. I don't know why I felt inspired to tell it. Usually when I tell it, I don't get super emotional either. I feel like maybe one of you is going through something serious like that, and you just need to know that things can actually fall apart to fall together better. And hope not all hope is lost. Okay, so we also have Creative Seeker. Be curious, not afraid. You are here to evolve. I'm going to let that be a message in and of itself. Creative numbers. No one really deserves joy from the signs of success. It's a project done well, meeting its audience. The numbers on that can be small but significant still. So like, especially if you're a creator as well, or if that's something you desire, don't focus on the analytics of it all. Don't focus on the logic, the facts, the figures. Focus on why you're doing something. That's where that generosity comes from. If you have a generous spirit, you're always going to end up popping off anyways, because the universe loves generous people, let me tell you. Okay. Now we also have the card of convergence for you. So we're actually going to read this one out of the book. Let me just pull that up really quick. Convergence. The meeting of two waters, nexus point, the age of Pisces meets the age of Aquarius. How have the challenging points of my past given me strength today? Convergence evokes a new epoch of innovation, discovery, and interconnection. We may not yet be in the new age, but we can look to the future with caution and hope. As one, we are part of the collective, in spirit, voice, and heart. We can each create change within our own timeline to expand outward into the greater whole. If we thirst for unity, love, and healing, we must first look within and tend to our wounds. Much growth can be gained through discerning times past, to see how far we've come and how the future may merge with us. This key encourages you to be soft with yourself. Take each pivot point or feeling of imbalance as an opportunity for change. Without being challenged, we cannot bloom into our fullest potential. This is how we do better. This is how we soulfully evolve and awaken to our divinity. And then you also got Dissolve Your Ego by Going Within, card number 22. It's a master number. So that is what your guides wanted to communicate about with you. And y'all, I really feel for you if you chose pile number 3. I feel like a deep sense of longing coming from you, or a deep sense of like seeking for relief. And I just want you to know that it's coming. The relief is coming. It might not be instantaneous, but it is coming. There will be a time of reprieve from what you're going through. Your guides really want you to know that, okay? Thank you so much to Tarot Stack for sponsoring this video. If y'all did not know, I do have 2 courses now available on my website. We have the Authentic Self, which is a workbook and an audio guide. And then we also have Authentically Aligned, which is my 4-week journey where there's video modules, there's workbooks. Every single week I'm meeting you with something new. And in this, I help you reconnect with your purpose, reconnect with yourself. We audit your life. We go through a healing phase. We go through a creating the new life phase. And then I set you up for success for the next 30 days and beyond, because you can continue to use the method that I give you literally for the rest of your life. And it's a wonderful journey. I hope you'll come and take it with me. Links to that, of course, down below on my website, KhloeTaylor.com. And I also just put out a 45-minute vlog on my Patreon. Patreon really helps me out as a small creator. So if you'd like to support me and get some extra content, please be sure to join in. I put out weekly tarot and horoscopes over there. Like I give you the astrology of the week as well as tarot every single week. And we do a card of the month. We do a community live event every month where we come together with all y'all like-minded individuals. It's a good time. So definitely check that out. Again, it really helps me out as a small creator. So my Patreon will be linked down below. I also have my podcast available to you, new episodes every Monday. It's called Divine Authenticity. I would love if you gave it a listen. We're about 150 episodes deep. It's a good time. And I also do accept tips for my readings. I have my Cashapp, Venmo, and PayPal listed down below for you, as well as my wish list. It is never expected, but always appreciated. And my beautiful pumpkins, please do not forget, when you stand in your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. I love you so much. Bye.